Mohammed grabbed Yousra's hand and tried to pull her back, but the invisible force was too strong. Basma tried to help, but suddenly, they were all thrown backward against the wall by an unseen force. The dim lights in the basement flickered and grew weaker. The air became so cold that their breaths turned into mist. Suddenly, Fares let out a loud scream before collapsing to the ground, motionless. Ayman rushed to him and found his face pale, his eyes wide open in terror, as if he had seen something that stole the very soul from his body. Shaking with fear, Mohammed whispered, "We have to get out of here somehow." But when they turned to Yousra, she was gone. There was no trace of her, only the echo of her last scream lingering in the darkness. Finally, Ayman spotted a fragile wooden ladder leading up to a small window. They climbed desperately as the darkness below seemed to stretch toward them. Mohammed was the first to reach the top, followed by Basma and Ayman. But when they tried to pull Fares up, he wasn't moving. "Fares, wake up. We have to go," Mohammed shouted, shaking him violently. But Fares' body was lifeless, his eyes staring into nothingness. Realizing they had lost Fares and Yousra to this cursed place, they climbed out as fast as they could, slamming the window shut behind them. As they looked back, they saw the house slowly crumbling, as if the curse inside had finally devoured everything. Standing outside, gasping for air, their eyes filled with tears, they knew this night had changed them forever. The abandoned house had taken their friends and it would never give them back. The four stood in the dark basement, their breaths heavy, eyes fixed on the corner where the darkness seemed to move as if it were alive. Suddenly, a mysterious figure emerged from the shadows, its features distorted, its glowing red eyes piercing through the darkness. Mohammed stepped back, muttering, "What is that? It can't be human." The figure started advancing toward them. Fares tried to turn on his flashlight, but it suddenly went out, as if something had drained all the energy from the place. Basma clutched Ayman's arm and screamed, "We have to get out of here now." Ayman rushed to push the door open, but it wouldn't budge. Suddenly, eerie whispers filled the basement, as if the walls themselves were speaking in a strange language. The ground trembled, and Yousra collapsed, screaming in pain as something pulled her into the darkness. When night fell, Mohammed and Fares met with two new friends they had recently gotten to know, Basma and Ayman, who decided to join them on their adventure. Upon arriving at the abandoned house, they noticed its broken windows and crumbling doors. Trees surrounded the place as if trying to hide it from the outside world. With hesitant steps, Mohammed pushed the door open. It creaked loudly as they entered. Inside, the house was filled with dust and scattered old furniture. Suddenly, they heard faint whispers coming from the dark basement. Yousra, who had joined them later, stepped back and said, "Maybe we should leave. This place isn't safe." But curiosity overcame fear, and they all carefully descended into the basement. It was damp and colder than the rest of the house, and the light from their phones was the only thing illuminating the darkness. Suddenly, the basement door slammed shut behind them, making Basma scream in terror. Mohammed turned on his flashlight and found an ancient inscription on the wall, written in an unfamiliar language. The ground beneath them trembled slightly, and they heard slow footsteps approaching from the darkness. Something was moving in the corner, but it wasn't human. There was no chance to escape. They were trapped in the basement, facing something they couldn't understand. On a summer night, Mohammed and Fares sat in the public park, chatting about their dreams and childhood adventures. They had been close friends for years, sharing a love for exploration and adventure. That night, they decided to find a new place to spend time together. Fares came up with an idea to visit an old abandoned house on the outskirts of the city. They say this house belonged to a mysterious man who suddenly disappeared, and no one has dared to go near it since then, Fares said excitedly. Mohammed laughed and shook his head. "Just myths. There's nothing scary about it." Without hesitation, they decided to go there the next day.